studios. This is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Hey now!
Hello, friends.
First day of school, and people are now back into the routine, and I'm thinking this is going to be a well-downloaded episode here, everybody. Welcome to After 9. We're Scott and Kat, back into doing these daily now, and thank you to everybody who reached out yesterday. A lot of DMs, a lot of text messages, just from people saying, thank God I've got my podcast back.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Coming up on this episode, there's so much. We're going to expose the fake Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce relationship. And maybe you're saying, wait a second, is it fake? I don't know. But we've got something here that certainly seems fake. And we'll get to that coming up. We're also going to talk about weddings. Wedding planners are going to lay out the things they would never spend money on for their own wedding. And I think that that's an interesting one because these people make a living trying to sell you stuff for your wedding. What is it they would cut? We'll get to that coming up. First off, great news yesterday, Kat. The Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump, was doing a podcast interview yesterday, and we finally got it. If he is elected, he's releasing the Epstein files. Listen to this.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know, they do that for danger, too, because, you know, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Yeah.
But a lot of big people went to that.
I don't hear a lot of yes. No, like for me, that was a non-committal. That was not committal at all of Donald Trump. When he says he's going to do something, he'll do it. Don't get me wrong. He says, I'm going to build a wall. He builds a wall. Fine. That was not a yes for me. That was y'all take a look at it. If you go back and listen, there was no yes. I'm absolutely releasing it. If you don't hear that from him, I don't buy it for a fucking second.
Interesting.
And he has a lot of friends on that list. Don't forget too.
Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
I'd be inclined. I'd have no problem with it. That's not a yes. I'm definitely doing it. That's not passion for me.
Is it really up to him? Like, can he say, hey, you know what? We're going to declassify all of America's secrets. They've already done Kennedy. We know it was an inside job. The government killed the president of the United States way back in, 1963? And Trump is right. They sometimes classify these things because there's people alive that may be in danger if the truth comes out for whatever reason. However, in the Epstein case, yeah, he probably has friends that went to that island. Donald Trump knows exactly what the hell went on that island.
I think so, too.
Because they probably tried many times to get him there. If he truly didn't go, and there's no reason to think he did, he says he didn't go, and I don't think he's on the list, then I don't know why he wouldn't release the tapes. Listen, this is a massive international sex trafficking ring of children. We have the list of clients. We have a witness still alive. Why is it not being made public? People want to know who went to this island and did horrendous things to and with children.
Well, I think that the problem is, and I mean, he's not wrong when he says it's a danger thing too, because just because you were at the island doesn't mean that you did horrendous things to children.
That's true.
Right?
Because there was a first trip, and I'm sure on your first trip you didn't dive right in.
Well, and maybe you didn't even know. Like, we have to understand that. So there's some people who might have been truly so naive. Maybe they were new to money, right? New stars, new friends. And then you come to this island thinking you're just there because a cool guy's got an island. And you're like, cool, man. Yeah, sign me up. I'll go hang out and party with you on your island and bring my friend. And you went there and you heard things and you're like, F this, right? And you're out. It's the people who went multiple times I'd like to know about.
Yeah, what are you guys hiding? Why did you do it? And who's running this? I mean, you've probably heard the same stories I have, anecdotally, that a lot of people think this was a sting. Similar to the story that we heard about Diddy. Diddy wasn't necessarily some reckless whatever. Some people believe he was a CIA agent and his whole job was to get celebrities to come to his place, do terrible things, and then he's got dirt on them and they have to listen. A lot of people think the Epstein thing was the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if they'll ever tell us that.
I don't know. We might never know the full story just because there are still people in power who are on that list or who are tied to it too
There
closely.
are judges, maybe even Supreme Court judges.
Yeah.
There are former presidents. There are just a laundry list of people that certainly know better, and we would probably be shocked and outraged when we
Yeah.
see who's on this list and how many times people went where. Half of Hollywood has got to be on it.
Well, and a lot of people assume Trump is, which is the interesting part, right? Because they were definitely friendly. I don't want to say that they were best friends because they were filmed together a few times. Like, I don't think that's necessarily the case. Just because you're filmed with someone doesn't mean, or photographed with
That's
someone,
true. Yeah.
doesn't mean that you know everything that they're up to. We know that. However, there's a lot of people who are wondering if Trump was on it. I think we all know that. So to clear his own name, he might want to do it for himself. But when he looks at the names, because he says he's going to look into it, claiming he doesn't know very much about it. You could tell by that answer. He's not going to rush to say, I'm going to do it in case he sees something on that list or he sees something and he goes, ooh, I can't have people finding that out.
Well, this is an interesting scenario because he was president and now he's running for president again, but there's been 4 years in between. And since then, the Epstein thing is... It's basically a water cooler conversation. People talk about this. Everybody wants to know who's on the list. We know some of our elected officials that make laws for the rest of us went to that island and did terrible things. So I think we deserve to know. It's crazy to me that we don't know yet. And who has the power to cover it up to this extent? People have died trying to protect this secret. And I think we have a right to know. If Trump doesn't come through and release that list, that's disgraceful. If you say you're going to do it, you got to do it. People want it. We deserve it. It's the responsible thing to do, to release that list. And let's find out what's really going on here or what went on there. And if it's still going on, who's to say there's not another Jeffrey Epstein out there and half of Hollywood's flying to their island or going to his house in Miami or whatever. So anyway, that was the big one that came out yesterday. One more that I want to play because, I don't know, are they trying to get us to argue about it? The beer in the convenience store starts tomorrow morning. As of 7 a.m. tomorrow, the law kicks in where convenience stores in Ontario, very similar to many states in America and several other provinces in Canada, you'll be able to go to a convenience store, corner store, and get beer, wine, pre-mixed cocktails. And I don't know exactly why there's still people trying to pick a fight about this. I think this next one probably comes from last week. Doug Ford, the premier, came out and said, no more safe injection sites around schools. We're getting rid of them because there's needles on the streets and we've got people tweaking out and we've got junkies roaming around the neighborhood and we just can't have these safe injection sites near schools. I think the vast majority of parents and citizens thought that was probably the smart move. Don't allow them near schools. Well, yesterday, reporter decided to ask the premier, well, why is alcohol going to be available near corner stores? Here's the premier's answer.
Morning, Premier Richard Southern with 680 News Radio. Your government prevents the sale of cannabis close to schools and will soon prevent safe consumption sites from operating close to schools. This Thursday, however, more than 4,100 convenience stores will start selling alcohol. Many of them are located close to schools. My question, Premier, is why are two drugs not okay to be located close to schools, yet alcohol is statistically more dangerous?
Well, thanks for the question. We're really looking forward on Thursday, opening up the 4 stores to have convenience for people. And I don't think you can, Richard, let's be fair. You're comparing a convenience store to a safe consumption site, injection sites. Last time I checked, the convenience stores don't have needles lying around the front of their stores, and they're well equipped. They've dealt with everything from tobacco to lottery tickets, now beer and wine, and they're going to be very responsible. But there's absolutely no comparison, and I've never had more phone calls and support about closing down the safe consumption sites. I call them unsafe consumption sites, and reinvesting and making sure that we support these people, approximately $378 million, to get them social assistance, to make sure that they have housing, make sure that they have addiction treatment beds and detox beds. So that's what we're focusing on, and we're going to continue supporting these people, getting them back on the feet.
Is that a fair comparison to compare convenience stores that sell beer to a safe consumption site that's handing out free fentanyl?
No.
Come on.
No, it's not.
It's not the same thing. One interesting thing, though, that he did bring up there, and I'll defend Richard a little bit on this part of it, is he had a good point. So you said no to the safe consumption sites, not near schools. I agree with that. I've evolved on that topic a lot. I used to be fully in favor of them because I thought, all right, well, this is a place where they can do it safely. They're going to do it anyway. They can go there. They can do it safely. And they're around trained professionals who have naloxone and can bring them back if something goes wrong. That was the original intent of these safe injection sites. The problem is they've now turned into safe and free dispensaries where they're handing out free drugs. And I, as a taxpayer, do not want my government manufacturing opioids and crack and heroin and fentanyl. Not with my tax dollars, and certainly not handing it out for free. But that's what's going on here, and it's not right. And in a lot of cases, the users are taking this free government drug, selling it to whomever, and then buying harder stuff that they are used to. We can't have that kind of nonsense going on around schools. We just can't do it. Is alcohol the same thing? I mean, the same restrictions that prevent kids from buying a lottery ticket or a pack of smokes are going to prevent them from buying alcohol there. But what I'm not sure about is the cannabis stores. You got to be 19 to get in there. You got to show ID to get in the door.
They're very secure.
I think they're very secure too. And I'm really not sure why there's a geographical boundary on that. I don't think there's anybody who realistically believes people are going into cannabis shops with a handful of kids' cash and buying them weed and giving it to them. I don't think that that's happening. It would, or potentially could, and probably did happen with the safe consumption sites. There's no reason to think that that would happen with cannabis. It hasn't been shown anywhere.
No.
And the convenience stores are the same thing. They're not going to risk their license selling alcohol to kids.
And yes, and that's a good point, is that these are businesses that are run by people. These are those people's livelihoods. They're not going to risk it for that stuff. They're not going to.
Have you ever heard of Philip Lind? Philip Lind.
No.
An art donation of selectively acquired works of the highest quality has been donated to the Art Gallery of Ontario.
Is this an artist?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. I get my stuff at HomeSense.
Like we all do.
That's why I don't know who this guy is.
37 works from the estate of Philip Lind have been donated to the gallery, which CEO Stephen Jost says is going to fill some gaps in some areas of the AGO's collection of photography, known for large-scale staged images that dealt with both contemporary concerns and art history. The pieces of art will be exhibited at the gallery starting in November. I don't know who. I assume there's people out there that enjoy going to art galleries. I assume there is.
Yeah. They exist, so there has to be people in them.
But how does that happen? Like, is it organic? Like, when I say, you know what, Kat? Let's go look at some art.
Yeah.
Let's go to the art gallery. Is this like a planned thing? Do you plan it out for months? Do people here go to the AGO, or is it just people who are in town as tourists? I don't know what's going on there.
I would think it's a heavy tourist population that enters those doors. But there's probably also regulars. There's some people who go there and that's part of their like weekly, maybe even daily ritual is to go, and perhaps there's one or two pieces of art that they could stare at for hours. And hey, good on you. You want to go stare at some art. That's cool. I'm not going to judge that. I don't know.
What do you do, though? Do you stand there and look at it?
Yeah.
Like hands in your pockets, or can...
Yeah, you just like sit sometimes they got benches in front of them so you can sit there for a while and look at them.
Well, how long do you look at it?
Well, sometimes they say when you look at certain art, you see something different every time you look at it. You've been to the Louvre before, right?
I have.
Now that's one of the most popular museums in the world.
Sure.
Is the Louvre in Paris. And I remember being there and it's just not for me. I get it. They're historic pieces. It's awful to go try to see the Mona Lisa. There's people everywhere. It's not like the movies when like the place is empty. That's not the case. There's people up your butt and just people knocking you over, and it's crowded. They're always at max capacity. It's awful.
I went to the Louvre one time when I was in France, and I had exactly 48 hours in France and a lot of things I wanted to do. I gave myself 2.5 hours at the Louvre. I walked through so many areas that they said, oh, you got to see this, you got to see that. I was only there to see the Mona Lisa. I got like maybe 10 people deep from it because there's people everywhere and they're pushing and shoving. And it's amazing that it goes on the way it does. You'd think they'd set it up like the turnstiles and you go through and everybody take a moment, walk, look, get out.
Yes, that's how they should do it. But instead, it's just like you're all crowded against you can't even get close to it really anyway. You're far from it. There's a gate up.
Well, it turns out that if you really don't give a crap about the rest of the art in the Louvre, and I'm sure it's beautiful, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't for me. I went in, I saw the Louvre, and I got out of there. Or I saw the Mona Lisa, and I was out. It took me longer to walk to where the Mona Lisa is than it did to actually do anything else there.
I enjoy the museums that give you things to do as opposed to just things to look at. You know what I mean? Because there's a difference between there's a lot of museums out there that are fabulous in terms of having things to do. Kids museums or adult museums, doesn't matter, but they're more of a learning experience. And it's kind of like art meets science meets history. So those things are always interesting. And I've been to the one in Sudbury. What's this art? The big art one and science one that they have there. I'm the worst. No, they actually have like one of the biggest ones in Canada in Sudbury.
What?
Yeah.
My daughter went to
Sudbury
school
had
for
one.
years in Sudbury. I had to go up there all the time.
Science Center? I don't know what the hell it was.
Science North.
Thank you. I went to Science North.
Good for you. You're
mean,
right.
it's cool.
Science North is there. It's right there on Lake Ramsey. Beautiful place.
And maybe not as much of a museum, though. Like, we're just talking art museums. You wouldn't catch me there. Like, if you would have said, come, let's go look at some art, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Hey, Octavia, does Gen Z appreciate art? When I say there's like some new collection coming to the AGO, do you think, oh my God, I gotta go?
If it's just paintings, I don't really care. Personally, I don't know that I speak on behalf of all Gen Z, but I don't care.
Okay. We're going to need you in a second because we're about to start talking about weddings. And for those who don't know, Octavia is the producer of the Scott and Kat Show and really runs our lives at this point. It's great. And Octavia, prior to getting into radio, when she was putting herself through radio school, worked at a bakery, and you were a cake decorator.
Yep.
Love it. Did you ever decorate a wedding cake?
Thankfully, no.
Thankfully. Would you like to do it, or that sounds like a bad idea?
I think it's really stressful because people's expectations are high, and I worked at a grocery store, so...
Imagine ordering your wedding cake at like fucking Sobeys.
Hello, Sobeys. I'm getting married on Saturday, and I need a cake for 250 people.
No offense to Sobeys.
Could have been anybody, really.
Could have been anything. Yeah.
Do people don't order wedding cakes from grocery store bakeries, do they? I know bakery's a bakery's a bakery, but the grocery store ones tend to... I would think that the professionals...
Octavia's giving us a look. What?
Sorry. I would think the professionals tend to gravitate more toward the monasteries and Casa Dolces and San Ramos and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would assume so.
The St. Philip's, too.
You could get, like, a part-time student, like, teenager making or decorating your cake, so you just never know.
You don't want to do it.
Probably not.
Right.
No.
Can we talk about the gender reveal issue before we get to this?
We can, yeah.
This is the problem. And again, nothing against the grocery store bakeries. Nothing against you. I don't understand why you're charging $30 for a freaking cake that cost you $1.50 to make, but here we are. But somebody ordered a gender reveal cake from your bakery.
Yes. And thankfully, I wasn't the one that made it. But usually when you take a cake order, people give the instructions and whatnot. And the cake decorator at the time didn't know it was a gender reveal and called them back and said, just confirming, it was blue icing you wanted on the inside, right? And they were so disappointed.
God.
Oh my gosh.
She felt horrible the rest of the day, but was also upset because nobody told her, and then she just wrecked it.
Does the person who ordered that cake and now had her gender reveal spoiled for her complain to the bakery afterwards, or is this a simple misunderstanding that could have happened to anybody?
I would say they would probably complain, but I don't know what came of that situation.
Did anybody get fired?
Nope.
Oh, wow. Good.
See, but Octavia's point, that's the difference between working with multiple people and working with a baker. So if you like reach out to someone on Instagram because you find their work nice and it's one singular person, you could tell them, hey, I'm going to give you an envelope. I'm going to come to your place, give you an envelope. It's going to have the gender in it. Don't tell me. They're going to remember that. They're going to remember you as the client. When people come in and out as part-time workers, they don't know who came in to do what, who's picking up what, nor should they really care. It's not really a big part of their job. It's not how they get paid, right?
Gender reveals have sort of become a thing since my kids were born. How does it work? If you go in, I guess you have the ultrasound, and the ultrasound technician can tell whether it's a girl or a boy, and they put it in an envelope and give you the envelope for you to give to the bakery or whoever's making the gender reveal for you.
Correct.
So you still don't know until the actual gender reveal happens.
Some people do. Some people don't.
So it could be a gender reveal where even the parents are surprised or
Yeah.
just when the guests are surprised?
It could be either. Yep, it could be either. Like I knew, and then we did cupcakes for my first, just with my family, and served them cupcakes for dessert for whatever the occasion was. But we already knew.
You did know.
Yeah,
Well, what about the gender reveal? What about the surprise?
that is a surprise for the family.
Oh, it's a surprise for everybody else.
Surprise for them.
Oh.
I guess. I don't know. We did a really low key one.
Got it. Here's a cupcake. Let us know how
Here's
it
a
tastes.
cupcake.
Probably tastes like cherry. All right, well, let's get to this. It is a great article that I came across, and it's from BuzzFeed. It is wedding planners talking about the things they would never spend money on for their own weddings. Number one, any kind of wedding favor with the couple's name on it. And they give this example. Your dad might use a beer koozie with your couple's name written on it in cursive, but no one else is going to. It's a waste of money to get the monogram stuff.
To do it for that many people, too, is very expensive. It's different if you're doing it for your bridal party, I think. Fine, you want to get monogrammed mugs for your crew, your small crew, cool. But if you're doing it for everybody there's a good chance they're going to end up at a Value Village near you very soon.
So I always get ripped off on those gifts, I mean, the wedding party gifts, because
Oh, really?
they always get nice things. Usually you go all out for your wedding party because they've certainly spent enough to be at your wedding, so you got to take care of the wedding party. I'm always the MC. It's like ambiguous if I get anything at all, and when I do, it's always like an afterthought. Like, oh, here's one of the centerpieces. Get the hell out of here. I don't want that. Centerpieces is coming up, though. Personalized cocktail napkins. They say no one cares. No one pays attention to them. Normal napkins are just fine.
Yes, they are fine. What are they going to... Do you even remember a wedding that you went to with that? Like, what's that supposed to do for people? Like, oh, look, let's take a picture of the napkin because it has her name on it. Nobody cares.
I feel like that's like a checkout add-on, like you get at like Winners and stuff like that. When you go through Winners and they've got that whole aisle full of cool stuff in the checkout. I feel like when they're selling you a wedding and, hey, get married here at this great place, Arlington Estate. And for an extra $300, we can get cocktail napkins with your name on it. And I feel like people think, spending $40K anyway, I might as well just throw in another $300 and get the napkins.
And the tricky part is sometimes they don't even go by that. They'll go by unit. Like, oh, it's only 5 cents per napkin. But then you're ordering thousands of napkins potentially, right?
Minimum order is enough napkins for a country.
Exactly. They're sneaky, though, in the wedding industry.
This one will be controversial. Liquor. Wedding planners agree they would not spend money on liquor. Now, that's not to say it is a dry wedding. They say go with beer and wine as your alcohol. Number one, it's a lot cheaper. Number two, your guests won't be able to get as sloppy drunk as they might otherwise if they're into doing tequila shots and pounding back scotch at $14 a glass and all that sort of nonsense.
Have you been to weddings that don't allow shots? A shot-free wedding?
I have.
I have too.
Did you find a way around it? A workaround?
No, that's how I found out is I tried to order them. Like,
Oh, really?
sorry, we don't do shots. Because they didn't really advertise that you couldn't do shots. It's just when you went to the bar and tried to get shots, they were like, no, it's not happening.
I was at a wedding.
Yeah, we tried to find a way around it, of course.
I think I found a hack. So what I did was I went to the bartender and they gave me the whole song and dance. Oh, I just wanted a shot of vodka or a shot of tequila. And they said no. I said, all right, well, let's get creative here. You're not allowed to pour a shot and I want one. So why don't we meet in the middle here? Why don't you take the tequila? Actually, it was vodka. Why don't you take the vodka and put about 4 or 5 ounces in a shaker? And then just a little titch.
Spritz of something.
A little spritz of soda water or cranberry. Squeeze a lime in it. Do whatever. Now you've made a cocktail. Pour it in the shot glasses and let's go. And apparently that's a fine way around it if you have to add more than one ingredient.
That's not bad. I remember we did waters. We did but small glasses, like short glasses. Tequila water. Fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Whatever.
I would be totally okay, by the way, if I went to a wedding and there was no liquor.
I wouldn't care either. As you mentioned that, I've never been to a wedding that had that, but I wouldn't care.
The wedding planners say you do not need a bottle of fancy champagne on every table. The manager of a wedding venue said they dump so much champagne down the drain after a wedding. Let people cheers with the drink they've got in front of them or table wine. I think it's a nice touch when they put out a bottle of champagne, but I have no doubt a lot of it gets wasted.
Most people just have, but how much champagne can you drink? You know what I mean? Like, most people have like a half of a flute. and that's it. And then there's usually leftover. Like they said, and what are you going to do with it? You don't recork it. So it's definitely a waste.
Say no to lots and lots of real flowers. They say fake flowers are a way better use of your money, and they've also come a long way. They look quite real. They say use real flowers for your bouquet if you want real flowers in your bouquet. But buying or renting fake flowers for everything else is going to save you a lot of money.
Yeah, okay.
I can get behind that too.
Yeah, sure. I don't care.
Say no to elaborate centerpieces. Think of the last wedding you went to. Tell me what the centerpiece looked like.
Yeah, we don't know.
You probably can't remember,
don't
right?
remember.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody does. So that's a great suggestion too. The other one is cut out the big expensive cake. Even wedding planners say cupcakes or donuts are a much cheaper option. You know, if they're throwing out that much champagne, I have no doubt they're also throwing out that much cake.
Yeah.
People who are paying like over $1,000 to get a wedding cake made just to have the picture and maybe smear a little bit on each other's cheeks, that's a colossal waste of money. Unless you're actually going to serve it as a dessert, why get a real cake?
Actually, our resident cake person, which I think used to be you, Scott, is now Octavia. And
Yeah,
Octavia,
I lost
it
the
used
title
to be
there.
you, but now it's Octavia.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something fun you can do with a cake. Hang on a second.
Stop it. She gave a great idea about the styrofoam. And that is to ice ice styrofoam, but maybe just have an actual cake at the top, like a tiny one if you want.
Yeah, like we did display cakes and stuff that just sat out in front of the bakery, and they just did them on the big round pieces of styrofoam, so they stacked nice and everything. But yeah, you could do that, and no one's going to know if you just have the top as 2 little cupcakes or whatever, 1 little smash cake on top, and then it looks super fancy, and it's just styrofoam. It's not wasted.
Brilliant.
What does something like that cost?
I love it.
To go into a cake shop and say, I want like just 2 cupcakes and a fake cake. What does something like that cost?
And that one I don't know because I don't know how
You
many
can do that
people would
yourself.
order that, but that's what I was thinking.
easy
But I
enough.
have the experience, again, maybe not wedding level experience, but I could ice some styrofoam and that would look fine.
I
You
like
know
that
somebody
idea.
that listens to After 9 is going to reach out to you and ask you to ice a styrofoam.
I'll see what I can do.
Charge them a lot of money.
I was going to say, for the right price.
Soak them. Every penny you can get out of them. All right, one more thing before we go. And I'm not even quite sure what to make of this, but I think this proves that about a year ago, when I said, I don't know if this Travis and Taylor thing is legit, it came out of nowhere. It seems all too convenient. I thought that this relationship, there was some red flags there. And now a document, which may or may not be real, which the creators say is a fake, seems to imply that the whole frickin' thing was a fake scam for attention and publicity for the two of them.
Okay, so here's the story. Travis Kelce's team say they've called in lawyers over this leaked contract that claimed to reveal the exact date his relationship with Taylor Swift would end. The reps say they deny completely that the couple has plans to split later this month after this document, which is written on the headed paper of his U.S. PR company, and it really is the PR company he uses, it was spread around online. The paperwork was created by Full Scope, or that's what it appears to be. It revealed a strategy to make their split, and it sets the date for the announcement as September 28th. That's a Saturday of this month, which would be 3 days post-breakup to allow the initial media frenzy to settle and ensure clarity. It adds the announcement would be gracious, respectful, and stress mutual respect. The paperwork also states the announcement would focus on his personal growth by framing the breakup as a natural part of life. It will also highlight his commitment to his career and his ongoing achievements in the sports industry. A spokesperson for Full Scope says they were entirely false and they are fabricated. They were not created, issued, or authorized by the agency. The rep also said they've called in lawyers, although they are not even expected to figure out who doctored these if they were doctored.
Here's the way it looks, and you can tell me if I'm way off base. It looks to me like they saw an opportunity to take advantage of each other's fame, and Travis there can unlock a lot of doors to sports fans and a whole circle that Taylor did not have access to before. Taylor gets all that publicity from the NFL and great promo for the tour and the albums and all that sort of stuff. It seemed to be a win-win. Now, that does not necessarily mean that they weren't initially interested in each other. I always kind of got the vibe that Taylor Swift was basically like asexual. I mean, all of her boyfriends, it's never really gone anywhere. She doesn't flaunt her sexuality very often. All of the relationships have ended badly. Just listen to the albums. I didn't really think of her as jumping right into a relationship with a Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's also, despite Taylor cleaning him up a little rough around the edges. He still does some nasty stuff that if he weren't dating Taylor Swift, his behavior on the sidelines towards Coach Andy Reid last year at the Super Bowl would have been enough to have that guy canceled. He would have been. But Taylor saved his ass because he was apparently dating America's sweetheart. It seems to me like they used each other and they've already determined how it's going to end. It'll be like a 1-year agreement. We'll stay together. We'll act like a couple, fly all over the world, spend lots of money, and get some great attention for ourselves. And it sure as hell worked for Travis because he has got multi-million-dollar offers coming at him daily.
Oh, I think he won in that scenario, if that's true.
He got way more than she did.
And you make some great points. I mean, all of that is true. She wanted more attention on her tour and all the other things that she's involved in. He wanted more attention on him. Look at all the gigs he's got. He's got gigs coming out the butt, man. He's got his celebrity... Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity? He's got a movie that he's doing, 2 movies apparently. Plus, of course, he's still an NFL star. So
he plays tomorrow night.
All of that works in his favor. All of it does. However, what's interesting here is if this was true that they both agreed we're going to split up and you do whatever you want with your PR, but let's agree to make it mutual and respectful like this paperwork claimed. What happens now, though? Because they're not going to do it now because the PR company is claiming that it's not real. So a couple of ways this could go that's going to tell us whether this is real or not. If Travis Kelce dumps his PR company, it was real. 100%.
Yeah, because they screwed up. They leaked the document.
If they break up, it was real. If they don't break up, it could still have been real because they don't want to draw attention to this being real.
That they were conning all of us for a year.
So they may have to linger longer in this relationship.
Oh, no.
Or they might claim that too much negative press is what broke them up and maybe make it a month later. I mean, lots of different ways this could go. But Taylor will either be very involved in his NFL career for the beginning of the season, or the whole season, I should say, or won't. I'm curious to see how that goes. I really am. Like, will she show up to some of his games? That she can, of course, pending her tour dates and all the other things. He also could show up to some of her things. But maybe they both agreed, it's too much. Let's just not. Let's end this now. They might have to follow through with it for a while. If they want to claim that this isn't real. Now, we haven't heard from Travis yet on this, and I kind of hope we do. If we don't hear anything, that's also suspect. To me, if you're Travis and you're in a relationship with Taylor and you really do love her and all this is bullshit to you, are you going to say something?
What do you think? What does your gut tell you? Is this relationship a relationship of convenience, or are they in love like they want us to think?
I mean, they could really like each other. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, and he made this statement through his PR company. Couldn't he just make it? I don't know. It's weird to me. All that stuff is kind of weird. But I do believe in calculated romance and calculated mutual agreements and relationships in Hollywood, without a doubt. Everything is so freaking calculated. From that to, I don't know, I was just reading up on Jessica Biel taking Silas Timberlake out for the first time ever, publicly allowing people to see his face.
Really?
They had never done that up until the U.S. Open.
Oh.
And that was the first time suddenly she did it. And a lot of people are wondering why. Why now? Weird timing with all the shit that's going on with Justin. I feel like all these things are just so calculated by firms like Full Scope that these documents could actually exist. Whether this one does or not, I don't know.
I get more and more skeptical of Hollywood every day.
Yes.
It really seems like everything is a made-for-television event, and they really try and control the narrative. And they've done a heck of a job with Travis and Taylor. If it turns out that this document is legit and it just got leaked, they've got to be livid because they went through this for a year to try and bolster each other or whatever the project was.
That's why the reaction to it is going to be the interesting part. It's going to be the telling part.
Do you think it's legit, Octavia?
I don't know. It's not something that I guess I cared about in the beginning anyway, whether they're together or not. So, I mean, and people are going to believe either way. Like, when are they going to get engaged or when are they going to break up? There's always going to be something to talk about. So, I don't know.
I'm going with this whole thing was fake. I thought that a year ago. It seemed like an unlikely couple. You know, I mean, Taylor and Patrick Mahomes would have made much more sense than Taylor and Travis Kelce. Hell, Taylor and Jason Kelce. I mean, I know both of them are married, but you know what I mean. They just were never the right fit from the start. But there was somebody somewhere in Hollywood that has always wanted Travis Kelce to do well because he was famous before he was famous for being a Chief, and that's a weird one. Anyway, we have gone over time, so I'll just say quickly, the decision is down from that son of a bitch, Tiff Macklem. They're cutting the interest rates again by only a quarter point. Interest rates are now down to 4.25 as the base rate. The banks add their own profit onto that too.
Did they announce officially the next announcement, though? Could it be a month away that we get another quarter point?
I believe it's October 19th. No announcement in November, and then another announcement in December. So they are going down, just not nearly fast enough, not enough time to help people. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care as long as they get rich. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow with another After 9.
Bye.
Students across the country went back to school. Yeah, of course, the first day of school is always emotional. This morning, my kids were crying when I put them on the bus. And I think that's mostly because it was a Greyhound.
NASA confirmed that 2 astronauts who were supposed to take an 8-day trip to the International Space Station would instead be stranded up there until 2025. What a nightmare. Imagine being stuck in a work trip for 6 months. Hey, Deborah, you know how they say in space, no one can hear you scream? Well, they can definitely hear you chew.
A beluga whale that was discovered in 2019 wearing a Russian spy harness was found dead over the weekend in Norway. Even crazier, it died after falling out of an 8th-story window.